information. We'll start. I am Tommy DiMisa, the nonprofit sector connector, Vanguard Insurance Agency, and the host of the weekly radio show podcast called Philanthropy in Focus. And this is the Nonprofit Executive Leadership Roundtable. I've been collaborating on this project, and I see all these faces who've been on my screen for many months now, but I've been collaborating with my buddy Christine Deska of Nonprofit Sector Strategies and her business partner Frank Orzo, and the folks at my firm support what we're doing. So it's been, God, it's got to be over 2 years, 2.5 years, I say. And we started out with like 6 people in a boardroom, and we've been as many as 40 people on a Zoom room, and certainly built a community here. And it's, I say this, and I don't say this in all of my other meetings. I don't say what I'm about to say. This is certainly my favorite Zoom meeting of the month. And I mean that because Shannon Daniels and I were just talking in the virtual attic, the green room, and we were talking about how this is a community and how special it is and how this has become a family. And I appreciate all you guys for being here, and I appreciate the people who haven't been here before for being here. And I think you'll kind of dig the vibe. I just let some people in. I think you'll dig the vibe. I think you'll make great connections. And as I call myself the nonprofit sector connector, it's important to me when I'm in a room full of people, virtual or real, that they have an opportunity to say who they are. Because what drives me bonkers is missed opportunities. And although you may have met these people before, there might be something different. For instance, Amy and Eileen from the Book Fairies were on my program on Friday, and I learned a whole bunch about the Book Fairies that I didn't know. And things change and things evolve. And like I said, I joked before we started the recording with Michael Katakis, but Wendy starts talking about her participants doing art. And I'm like, you need to know, you don't know Michael and Spirit Huntington and what they're doing with artworks. I didn't get all the words out because I got distracted, but Michael's going to take care of that when it's his turn to talk. So I'd like to keep this to right around 30 seconds if we could. Then my colleague, not business partner, but my colleague and co-collaborator on this project, Christine Deska, will take it away and run a very interesting and strong interview with Shannon Daniels, who I'll introduce later in this program. So here's what we'll do. We'll start out, if you are with a nonprofit, I just want to hear your name, the name of your organization. Tell me a bit about the mission and what you have going on. If there's something of need, like even when we had last month, the COVID vaccines were available, and they had extra COVID vaccines from an organization on Long Island specifically for the IDD community, and that was a point of reference that came up. So if there's things that are relevant that you want to share with this community, please take that opportunity to do so. At some point I might just say, John, I need to bring you right back because we got to keep it moving. But that's not out of meanness, it's out of love, and it's out of because we got a lot to do. So if that happens, just understand why I'm doing it. I'm letting Jamae in. All right, so here's what we'll do. Why don't we start? I'm going to tell you who's going to go first, and then I'll tell you who's going to go after that. If you are not a direct employee or leader of a nonprofit, just tell us how you impact the sector. That's cool too. So we'll go to Melissa Greenberger and then Paul Rubin, please.
Good morning. So hi, everybody. So nice to be here this morning. I actually have my colleague on for the first time. Mindy Lund is here, so she'll introduce herself a little bit later. But I'm a senior staff attorney at Pro Bono Partnership. As I said earlier, for those of you who were here before we started recording, we have a dual mission. We provide pro bono legal assistance to nonprofits. We work in the tri-state area, so New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, outside of Manhattan, 5 boroughs. And we also provide pro bono opportunities to lawyers who are looking to do pro bono work. So if you are with a nonprofit, have any legal needs in the transactional space, things that could be drafted, please let me know. And if you know any lawyers who want to volunteer, let me know that as well. I'm happy to try and help. Item of interest, we do webinars. We have a couple coming up. I'm doing one in a few weeks on starting a nonprofit, probably not relevant to any of you guys because you're already with a nonprofit. But if you know someone who could benefit from it, let them know. Check out our website. We have a bunch of employment webinars coming up as well.
Share that.
I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, put it in the chat. It's great, and share it with Christine and I too, so we can sort of direct people to that. So we'll go to Paul. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, Melissa. Paul Rubin, and then Marilyn Tickton, please.
So it's great that I just I'm coming off the heels of Melissa, because Melissa Pro Bono Partnership has done incredible work for us. Without their support, we could not be up and running for the last couple of years. They have done so much. So thank you, Melissa. So I am the executive director for Camp Good Morning, which is a Long Island bereavement camp, a nonprofit that provides free bereavement camp programs for Long Island children who are coping with the death of a parent and or sibling. Now more than ever, our services are needed specifically because of the pandemic and everything that's going on. Our camper percentage, the percentage of campers who have had parents died because of COVID, our camp just took place a couple of weeks ago, was 25%. So that kind of gives you an idea of the impact that COVID has had on the community. And we have 3 different things coming up. We have a wonderful photo shoot and memory box opportunity for campers and just anybody or sponsors to provide that for our campers. So a professional photographer just takes the time with a family and gives them a free photo shoot. They're donating back about 66% of what of the entire cost. So actually her entire sitting fee is free. She's donating that back. And that's specifically because her husband's father passed away in a tragic car accident when he was 8 years old. So just want to let you know about that. We're also having a cornhole tournament that's coming up in July. And then our fall camp, we're already planning for that, which is in November. So if you know any child who has suffered the loss of a parent or sibling, please let us know. It's absolutely free to the family. So thank you.
Thank you, Paul, and feel free to share in the chat what we have going on. And I would like to personally know about that cornhole thing. So please let me know about that whole deal.
Yeah.
So would Christine Fitzpatrick. I saw a thumbs up over there. So so we'll go to Marilyn Tickton, followed by Stanley Turetsky, please.
Good morning, everybody. Good to be here. Marilyn Tickton. I'm with Court Furniture. We're a Berkshire Hathaway company, and we do office and residential furniture that came out of our rental cycle, and we sell it to individuals and organizations, specifically nonprofits, at 50 to 75% off. And I'll put my information in this chat. Good to see everybody.
Thanks for being here, Marilyn. Stanley, and then Jerry Wade, please.
Good morning. I am with Westbury Arts, as I mentioned before. We're a 7-year-old nonprofit devoted to bringing art and culture to the greater Westbury community. I'm a founding member and currently serving as the chairman of program and planning. At the moment, the 2 biggest things that are happening, we just completed a huge mural in our central business district under a New York State decentralization grant administered by Huntington Arts Council. And we're also organizing a teen summer program, Saturday program. It's free in the arts for any teenager 13 to 17 who lives in the town of North Hempstead. And the program will offer Saturday courses in jewelry making with an entrepreneurial bent, mural painting, how to take a small picture and develop it into a larger work, and theater staged reading of a play. It's 6 Saturdays through July and August. So I'll put my information on the chat. If anyone knows a youngster in North Hempstead who's interested, I'd be happy to have them.
Stanley, thank you for being here. And there's my biggest part about this is where's the collaboration, where are the opportunities? And I certainly heard some opportunities there. Potentially, do you know the Spirit of Huntington? Do you know Michael Katakis? Michael, this is your show today all of a sudden, but this is because of the great work you guys are doing. So make sure you guys connect if you haven't done so already. So we'll go to Jerry Wade, and then since I'm bringing up his name so much, we'll go to Michael Katakis right after Jerry Wade. So let's do that.
Well, I'm gonna have to make this good if Mike's gonna be following me now. So Jerry Wade, founder of On Point Strategic Planning, which is a veteran-owned financial services firm. I serve on 2 different boards right now, one for Junior Achievement down in New Jersey and out of Sassy out on Long Island. I help nonprofits educate their workers on how to save for retirement, put things in place. But even more so, I help the parents as they're worried about the children. I'm worried about making sure that they're going to have enough gas in the tank to get themselves to retirement and make sure that if something happens to them, their children are taken care all done by financial planning, and my son's on the autism spectrum, so that's why I got into doing this, and it's just a wonderful thing to do.
Thanks, Jerry. So Michael Katakis and then Christine Fitzpatrick, please.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I don't know if I can follow all these accolades here, but it's a pleasure always to see all the familiar faces and the community, like Tommy said. I am the executive. My name is Michael Katakis. I am the executive director at the Spirit of Huntington Arts Center. We are a nonprofit that ignites the passion for creative expression, and that really does transform lives of students with special needs and also veterans, and we see it every single day. We started in a little old garage with 3 students. We're up to 250 students a week that come through our program. It's an amazing program that shows how art and creative expression does transform a lot of people in our world. And we've been able to expand that into what Tommy was talking about earlier, to a program called Art Works. And Art Works is showing that it's not just fine art, it's also digital art that can really realign people's lives and help them transform themselves through education and vocation. We are actually training young individuals with special needs for employment in this exciting world of marketing and advertising and digital art. We've hired already 6 that came out of our program, and it's growing every day. So we're excited to offer not just those fine arts, but also the digital arts, and work with a lot of great organizations like yourself, because that's all we actually work in, is the nonprofit, purpose-driven world, to do advertising and marketing for other companies to make their mission and vision come true. So, it does keep expanding, and Tommy's been a key component of our success, and we thank him, and we thank him for this opportunity to share all this great stuff.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate the work you're doing. Very, very special. I somehow moved people around the table just now, so now I'm tasked with finding where I was. So remind me if I said who was going to speak. Oh, I said Christine. So Christine Fitzpatrick, and then best t-shirt in the house, Amy Zaslansky.
Good morning, everybody. I'm beyond excited to be here and to listen to everybody's nonprofits. I just love it. I am the founder and executive director of a program called the League of Yes, where you experience success. And also, because we don't say no, we're a baseball program for children with terminal illnesses and disabilities to play baseball. We are actually in our 10th year. We have a little over 300 children that play, and we get pre-COVID 1,500 kids within the community that volunteer. It's a great program in that respect for the buddies, because that also helps with our young community to understand children with special needs, and it helps with the bullying at the end of the day, that they understand that kids are kids, no matter what their ability or disability is. So we're back playing again. It's been absolutely amazing. We're trying to take this program nationally, and Tommy, that's why you're probably hearing my name again, because I'm really pushing the envelope. We had a video that went viral about 3 years ago. I mean, it was in Korea, Australia, all over the world. And the amount of phone calls that I got for people that wanted to start this program was amazing. So I'm back in full force trying to get this program up and about. Sports are very important for kids with special needs. It's also a great community, because we know our children with disabilities, especially on the autism spectrum, it's very hard for them to make friends and friendships. And if I tell you, I have another program called Our Skills, which are typically kids on the spectrum. On Friday nights, pre-COVID again, they would all get together. One kid would drive and pick up all the other kids, and they'd go to the movies, or they'd go play putt-putt golf. So the amount of beautiful friendships that have come from this program is absolutely amazing. And Tommy, again, thank you so much for having me here.
I'm just glad you're here, because I can't wait to come down to see the fields and bring my kids now, because I mean, it's been a few years and my kids are older now, and both my older and my 2 older kids out of the 4 both play softball and baseball, and their seasons are about to end, but I want to bring them down to the fields to see what we
They will love it.
So you and I got to take it offline for sure, but I'm certain that some of my other friends who, when we hear IDD and special needs, that hits a lot of us. So so there's a lot. I mean, it probably hits most of the folks on this call. So so there's plenty of collaborative opportunities there. So let's keep it moving. I might have to ask people to keep a little tighter on the time, because we I let this go because I'm like a 5-year-old and I just want to hear all the stories. But then I remember I'm supposed to be moderating and facilitating at the same time. So it's the battle inside of Tommy D. So, all right. So Amy Zaslansky and then Jessica Schwab, please.
Okay, Amy Zaslansky from the Book Fairies, the shirt that Tommy was talking about, Read, Learn, Grow. Basically, everybody has books in their house that they don't need anymore. And there are people right on the island in New York City who do not have access to books. So we are just the conduit between those who have and those who don't. We donate about 500,000 books a year. And so far we've impacted more than 1 million plus kids. In terms of connecting with all of you guys, we do a ton of work in the special needs sector. They're the backbone doing our pickups and deliveries. But in terms of reaching out, we are actually in an exciting phase. Number one, we have our biggest fundraiser going on. It's a month-long readathon. If anyone still wants to jump in, let me know. But second, we've grown so big, so large, so fast that this summer is actually going to be a really cool time. We're going to take a slow down, a pause, and really evaluate our system to make sure that we're moving ahead more effectively. And we're also in another phase of our board. So if anybody knows of anyone who is super strong in terms of being a board member, we're really elevating our board and always looking for new candidates who are interested and have a passion for literacy and growth.
Thank you for that share. You know, I ask a lot, what do you need? And a lot of organizations say, well, Tommy, we need money. Obviously, we all need money, but what else do you need? So the Book Fairies is looking for high-powered board members. That's great. Thanks for putting that out there. All right, let's go to Jessica and then Jemay, please.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Jessica Schwab. I'm the development specialist at Options for Community Living. Options for Community Living provides housing, supportive services, and case management in Nassau and Suffolk counties on Long Island. Our programs are specifically designed to allow people to live as independently as possible within the community and to provide as much dignity to their life as possible. We've been a member of this pretty much since the beginning, and we did host
You certainly
one of the nonprofit sector meetings.
You hosted our last in-person meeting, in fact.
Yes, we did. It was
world.
a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
we look forward to getting back to that when it's safe to do so. But we're happy to be here. Thanks for having us, Tom.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a valued partner in what we do here, Jessica. We appreciate you and the team, Yolanda, and everybody out by you guys. So I said Jemay, before Jemay goes, so there's some people who have sneaked in after I announced what we're doing. So we're going to go about 30 seconds, folks. Just your name, your organization, if you represent an organization. If you don't, and you're a solutions provider or business that works with nonprofits, please just tell us that. I will figure out where that noise is coming. Well, it's gone. Okay. So if you sneaked in late, just name, profession, and again, if you're a nonprofit, who you are in that organization, your mission, what you're working on. If you're not, just let us know how you support the sector. So Jemay, followed by Amy Fleischer, please.
Hi everyone, Jemay Crowder. I'm with Tiegerman. We're a school for children with developmental disabilities and autism spectrum disorders, as well as a adult service program. And I'm the development director. Thank you.
Thank you, Jemay. You just picked up some time I gave away before. Appreciate that. Amy Fleischer, and then we'll go to Jim McCormick after that.
Good morning, everybody. I apologize for my darkness. I can't figure out, just got a new camera. My name is Amy Fleischer. I am the development officer for Long Island Select Healthcare. We are a federally qualified health center, which means we treat the underserved. Our backbone, as Tommy would say, is IDD World, just because we were formed by Free, UCP, and DDI 5 years ago. But we treat anyone. We treat the homeless. We treat undocumented. We treat people out of work because of COVID and they don't have insurance. We don't turn anyone away. So it's a really great place. We have 3 locations right now that are still open in Central Islip, Hauppauge, and Riverhead. As Tommy mentioned before, we are the organization that has vaccines available. I still have vaccines available. It's like you can't give them away, but we have them. We're doing them every week, not just IDD. Anyone that needs them, 18 and older, because we only have Moderna, so I can't do 12 through 18, but 18 and older. We are having our 5-year anniversary in October, in-person, full-on event. October 7th. So I'll get some information out to you, Tommy. I know you asked for that. But we're celebrating our 5 years and we're really happy to still be here. And Tommy, can we get together and do an in-person again? My first and last in-person was at Options.
Wasn't really. Well, I look, I had this idea of where I want to do something. I actually know where I want to do it. I think I even said it on this call already. I'm not going to say it right now, but I yes, the answer is yes, like with a bunch of exclamation points behind it if I was typing it to you. All right. So yeah, we're going to figure it out. At first, and I didn't even know if you were on the call yet when I started talking about the whole COVID vaccine thing. So just share how they get, if you could put it in the chat, Amy.
I'll put it in the chat. Just get in touch with me. Again, 18 and older. We have a lot of vaccines. You can now use first dose as second dose as first dose. So it's a lot easier. They really took away a lot of the difficulties in reporting, which kept, I think, a lot of people from giving the vaccine because it's a lot of back end work. I'll put it in the chat. Just reach out to me. We're typically doing it once a week on a Wednesday between 10 and 2. Just show up to Central Islip. We'll get you all the information. But again, if there's anybody that you know, if there's organizations that you know, I mean, I've reached out to homeless shelters, and a lot of people, thank God, have had them. But if there's organizations that you know that need them, that have clients that need them, again, anybody, it could be someone, you know, it doesn't have to be of the in need or underserved, but we don't want them to go to waste.
Yep.
And we'd like to just help whoever. A lot of people are deciding now, you know, to get them that they didn't want them 3 months ago.
Listen, different. We're evolving with what we want to do. I just got to pull it back, but do me a favor, put that just your contact. We'll go to Jim McCormick quickly, and then Dr. Abramson is here. Dr. Abramson, we're just doing quick introductions and how you might be connected to nonprofit. So we'll go to Jim and then Dr. Frederick Abramson.
Tommy, thank you. Always a pleasure. Thanks for putting this together. It's great to meet everyone. Jim McCormick with your part-time controller. We're a national organization providing accounting services to nonprofits. So, you know, what our niche is, if you don't need a full-time controller or CFO, we provide the expertise and can help you. So great hearing all of your stories, and look forward to hearing some more.
Thanks for being here, Jim. We'll go to Frederick and then Mindy Lund, please. Just come off mute.
Some people would say that's a benefit, have me muted.
I resemble that statement. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Tommy. So I'm Frederick Abramson. I'm down here in the Washington metro area in Maryland. Thank you for inviting me, Tommy D.
You're welcome.
I'm a businessman, scientist, and attorney. So I've got this weird background. My role with nonprofits is to advise them on things that they can do that are really business focused, also some legal stuff. I've been on boards of nonprofits. I actually started a nonprofit 10 years ago called Fresh Start Science to help women, young single mothers, find paths out of poverty. And the key element was to do genetic analysis on their positive traits, non-disease. I also started a for-profit called Golden Thread Technology to use genetic information to reduce the risk of injury to athletes, particularly youth athletes.
Exciting stuff. Really glad to have you here. It's been a few months since we connected, so great to see your face on my screen again. I appreciate you. So I'm looking around my screen because I don't know if I said somebody after Doc. Oh, I said Mindy, and then I say Heather after that, please.
Hi, good morning. I'm Mindy Lund. I'm from Pro Bono Partnership. I work with Melissa Greenberger, and she did a great job letting you know what we do, but we provide free legal services to nonprofits to help them build capacity and reduce risk. And it's awesome to put faces with so many of our clients whose names I've just known previously. So nice to see everyone. And I would just also say that we are looking to build our Twitter and Facebook followers. Melissa has a great corner of LinkedIn as well. But if you would follow us on Facebook and Twitter, that would be great. It's at
tell us how to do it. Put it in the chat so I'll capture the chat before we leave here today, and we'll make sure people have access to it while we do it. So glad to have you here, Mindy. Thanks so much for being here, and appreciate you. Appreciate everything pro bono. I always make jokes about pro bono means free, but because it does, I guess. Another thing I'll have to Google later on. But so we'll go to Heather and then Linda Berman, please. After that, Linda, just come back on and see us.
Good morning, everyone. Happy to be here for my second meeting. My name is Heather DeLasti, and I'm the development manager for the NYU Langone Cancer Center for Kids Mineola. So the funds that we raise go towards the services, ancillary services that are not provided and covered by insurance, such as child life, psychology, social work, and music therapy. So while our children are getting treated and their families are there, that we're able to provide these services so they can feel like it's really more home. We're the largest outpatient facility in Nassau County, and just a really rewarding place to work and be. So thanks for having me again.
Thanks for being here again. We appreciate you. Stay with us. We'd like to have you here more. So we'll go to Linda Berman, and then I see Mary Fleisch, if you can come off mute as well after Linda.
Hi, Tommy. Hi, Christine and Frank. Thanks so much, as always, for hosting this nonprofit executive roundtable. The Corporate Source is a nonprofit organization that creates employment opportunities for individuals with disabilities and provides services leading to independence and fulfillment throughout the greater New York area and the Caribbean. Just two quick things. Please, everyone, save the date. We have a great event coming up during National Disability Employment Awareness Month. It will be on October 21st. It's a virtual event. It's called Celebrating Work, a Labor of Love. And our theme this year is going to be an evening of entertainment. And we have some really great performers lined up. So please save the date. And the other thing I just put in the chat is that our HR director let me know yesterday we have an immediate opening for a team leader in Suffolk County. And so I know you have great reach. You have a lot of constituents with your organization. So if anybody knows of a person who would be qualified for janitorial and disinfecting services team leader, I put my email in there. It's linda.berman@thecorporatesource.org. So please send people our way. We'd really appreciate it. And it's full benefits and all that good stuff. Competitive salary, integrated workplace. Please send people our way. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Sorry to cut you off there. Thank you. And thanks for posting that, because, I know we might be going a little long on these intros today, but I'm okay with it. And I hope you are, because there's real value in these opportunities. This is the collaboration part of our show. Yes, there's going to be thought leadership here shortly, but it's also about what's going on with the organization. How can we help, and how can, what a great ask there, Linda Berman. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And Christine, thank you for posting it on the Nonprofit Hub. And I see Melissa just posted a job as well. This could be a great forum to post openings so that we can get more people into employment.
Yeah. I'll ask Frank Orzo when I get to him to mention the Nonprofit Resource Hub, but let's go to Mary Fleisch, and then Wendy. I know you spoke before we started, but let's talk again. So Mary Fleisch, then Wendy Gennaro, please.
Hi, thank you. My name is Mary Fleisch. I am actually not an executive, so I hope I'm okay to be on the call. I am a board member at Cerebral Palsy Nassau. Been on the board for about 8 years now. I am the lovely sister of a participant there, Charlie Fleisch, who I'm sure some of you probably even know. He's very popular. I also serve as vice president at Fedability. Fedability is a resource network at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, and it's for basically support of either people who are disabled that work at the Fed, or people who have family members or come in contact with people who are disabled. So I have kind of two hats, and in my past, I also ran 2 grassroots non-for-profits that were, not official nonprofits. One was a bowling league in Queens for the physically disabled, and one is a bowling league on Long Island for the physically disabled. Both are no longer in business. People got older and didn't want to do that anymore. So that's my background. I think everybody knows what CP Nassau does, but it deals with people with cerebral palsy, and not just cerebral palsy, both children, because we have the Children's Learning Center through adulthood. My brother is one of the adults in the Life Options program.
Really quick, Mary, how did you find out about us today? Because
I don't remember.
All right, well, probably my business.
I'm on a lot of meetings, and I'm also read a lot on the disabled, and I'm in disability in and a lot of things. So
We
I'm
got
not sure where I grabbed it from.
Well, I'm
but
going to
that's-
tell you, I'm going to take a guess. Ed Probst is my business partner, and he's very.
And he's on our board.
He's on the board and the foundation board, the whole thing. So it could be that. But either way, you and I need to hang out. So we'll talk after the meeting. So we go from CP Nassau to QCP. So go ahead, Wendy, take it away.
Yep, I'm Wendy Gennaro. I'm the Director of Development at Queens Centers for Progress. We are similar to CP Nassau and in the same network of CP State, and provide services to people with intellectual developmental disabilities to empower them to lead as fulfilling and enriching lives as they possibly can. So we also have a Wednesday networking group, which Tommy, please share the information with everyone. One thing I've discovered during this pandemic is just how valuable these Zoom networking opportunities have become to connect with other people and to grow our network in a way I never have before, even though I've known Tommy for years. It took me a while to catch on. But we're also looking to hire. I'm sure other agencies out there like ours are really suffering in trying to recruit people and work in our programs. It's really difficult now. So we're doing a full court press on recruiting. So if anyone knows anyone looking for a job as well, who wants a fulfilling career in this field, send them my way.
Thanks for being here, Wendy, and thank you for bringing a bit of the West out here East. We appreciate it.
Happy to.
I've been caught on video saying Queens is certainly my favorite borough. And I've actually said on my podcast several times. I had Tom Gretsch, the CEO of the Chamber, on my show. So thanks for being here. I want to do the lightning round real quick for those who are still here that haven't introduced themselves. Daniel Morris and then Sue DeCanto, if we could kind of make it real tight, if you don't mind.
Morning, Dan Morris. I want to thank Shannon for inviting me. I currently serve as the executive director for Project Music. We are a El Sistema-based organization that provides free music and lessons in a rigorous after-school program for underserved youth here in Stamford. I also serve as the treasurer of the Stanford Partnership and the chairman of the board for the Stanford Old Timers Athletic Association. My ask today for Project Music is similar to Amy. We are looking to enhance our board, and we are looking for dynamic people to join our board. Specifically, we're looking for somebody in finance and accounting and somebody in legal. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Thanks for being here, and thanks for being super specific with the ask. So we'll go to Sue DeCanto and then Frank Orzo, please.
Hi, I'm Susan DeCanto. I'm the Donor Relations Coordinator at Options for Community Living. My co-partner Jessica explained a little bit about Options, but I'm going to tell you about our comedy show coming up, which is on September 26th in person. So it'll be exciting. We'll be passing that out. It'll be September 26th at the Levittown Governors. So we hope you can all join us.
That's awesome. And I love that we have to tell people things are in person these days. I love that
Yes.
that's like actually a thing that we can say. It's not like,
Absolutely.
it's not like obviously it's virtual. No, it's like we're actually going to do something with like real people. So I'd like Frank Orzo. Did I miss anybody before I have Frank? Oh, Mary Lee, and then Frank Orzo. Mary, just come off mute.
Okay, clicking on the unmute. Hi, good morning. I'd like to thank Tommy for the invitation. He always comes through with all of his connections, really. I own an IT company, and we've worked with technology and nonprofits for over 20 years. And we love helping nonprofits increase their efficiency and their capacity and helping them sort out the big technology mess. So we work with computers, telephone systems, and other technologies. And if you're having any struggles, especially with people working from home or trying to decide how to do that going forward, we've been working with some human resource professionals and trying to determine how that goes forward. So if anybody wants an assessment or second opinion about their computers, feel free to contact us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary, and thanks. I know you've been involved in nonprofits for a long time, so I appreciate you being here. What I'd like to do now before we move into the conversation that we've all been here and waiting for is, Frank, I'd like you to talk obviously about nonprofit sector strategies, but if you could bend it a little bit towards the Nonprofit Resource Hub, if you wouldn't mind. My buddy, my pal, Frank Orzo.
Hi, guys. My name is Frank Orzo. I am a co-founder along with Christine Deska of Nonprofit Sector Strategies. We are publishers of the very popular board portal, Bell's Board. And for Sue and Amy who are looking to energize their board, and anyone else, our tool, Bell's Board, actually becomes a very good way to entice new board members, because you're telling them that they have our product can help them be more efficient and effective collaborative board members. To Tommy's question about Nonprofit Resource Hub, Christine, Tommy, and I, along with 3 other individuals, are also co-founders of the Nonprofit Resource Hub. The hub is everything about nonprofit. If you're a nonprofit member, if you serve nonprofits, you should be part of the Nonprofit Resource Hub. It's a one-stop shop to find out anything you need in terms of your nonprofit. It's a tremendous resource and very organized operation. So Nonprofit Resource Hub.
Thank you, Frank.
Join.
And the nonprofit partners are free. It is free membership in the Nonprofit Resource Hub, and it is itself a 501c6. Correct me if I'm wrong, Christine or Frank. 501c6 trade organization, nonprofit. The others are, it's Vanguard, it's Nonprofit Sector Strategies, it's Danette O'Connell from Triumph Business Solutions, it's Ken Serini, who you may have heard of, and it's David Goldstein from Sir Tillman Ballin. All right, without further ado, I'm going to introduce 2 friends of mine. The cool thing about being Tommy D, yes, I said that. The cool thing about being Tommy D is I get to meet really cool people, and then they become my friends, and then they become speakers on these kind of conversations. So that's a lot of fun for me. So I'm going to read Shannon's background, and then I'm going to read a bit of my partner in this particular operation, Christine Deska. I have a lot of partners in a lot of things, and Christine's my favorite to work with. So I figured I'd make you blush quickly so you can be ready to talk after this. All right, here we go. Shannon Malkin Daniels is a self-proclaimed communication nerd, an entrepreneur and author and professional speaker who views obstacles as opportunities and believes anything is possible with the right combination of creativity, hard work, and perseverance. Applying this mindset, she has enabled the development of innovative solutions and has also become a standout leader. In 2018, she founded Encaptiv, which we're going to talk about a bit today, which is an award-winning audience engagement conversion platform for virtual, hybrid, and in-person events. Shannon is a TEDx speaker, 40 under 40 recipient, and holds a master's degree in interpersonal communications from the University of Central Florida, and has served on the faculty of both Columbia University and Iona College. She is also the co-founder of Stanford Innovation Week, which is a week-long conference celebrating innovation, entrepreneurship, and technology. And we will be talking about some of these communication subjects shortly with Christine Deska. So Christine, Frank, and Christine founded Nonprofit Sector Strategies together. You just heard a bit about that, and you heard a bit about Bell's Board. But what I want to say to you is, aside from being a great collaborator, Christine has a depth of knowledge in this space, in nonprofits, in foundations, and in working with the government. She was with the Columbus Citizens Foundation as Director of Programs from 2014 through 2016. And while she was with AARP prior to that, she led initiatives around older adult hunger, financial security, and volunteer management, and often acted as their media spokesperson. So no challenge for her to run these interviews that we do here each month. She sits on the board of Hunger Solutions for New York, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to the alleviation of hunger throughout New York State. I can't say enough about the fun we have working on this project. It's been 2.5 years, kid. I just dig doing this with you. So if you would now take it away and have this conversation with Shannon, please, Christine Deska and Shannon Daniels.
Thanks so much, Tommy. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Can you hear me? Oh, good. I'm double connected, phone, internet, I'm unmuting everywhere. Okay. And Tommy, that mug is incredible. So excited to see you all, and so excited to introduce Shannon to everyone, because I think this is such a timely topic. We're all trying to plot the path forward. How are we going to plan out our events for the next year? When are we transitioning back to in-person? We all want to, but are our attendees ready? Are our populations, different populations have different challenges? You know, what is this next year going to mean for all of us? Especially if you serve children. There's all these different populations to think about. And also, I think we've benefited with this very group with not having the geographic constraints. You know, we're bringing in people from Maryland, Colorado, all over. And how do you keep those folks engaged now in this new kind of transition? So welcome, Shannon, to the group. We're so excited to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
And I first wanted to ask you to just tell us about yourself. Tommy gave you a nice intro, but you know, how did you come to specialize in nonprofit and association events? Give us a little bit of your background, then we'll dive into event strategy.
Yeah, like Tommy said, and again, thanks for having me on. And Tommy, one of the things you said about your favorite things of being Tommy D is connecting with people and making new friends. And I will say Tommy D is a connector, as all of you on here already know. So thank you so much for having me on here. This is great. You're a fantastic person. And it's been nice to meet you recently, Christine, and have some conversations leading up to this. But yeah, I am a communication geek, a nerd. I love communications. I ended up studying interpersonal communication for my master's degree. And when I was doing that, people were like, what are you going to do with that? What is that degree about? I'm like, what am I not going to do with it? I'm going to win at life, right? So I just love interacting with people and understanding the psychology behind how and why we communicate the way in which we do with other people, and how to do that better to build relationships and human connections. And that's at the foundation and the core of everything I do. And when I started out on Encaptiv, it started in a little bit of a different direction, and COVID led us to a pivot. It's always been a platform for presentations and events, and we initially built it for in-person presentations and events. One of the things I was looking at is when you're online, when you're on a webinar, it's a little more measurable. You can see the people there. You can be a little more interactive. But I was someone who led sales and marketing departments my whole corporate career. I kept seeing through all the events I was planning, the presentations we were doing, that it was very one way, right? You stand up in front of a room, you got PowerPoint slides behind you, the audience sits there, they're, you know, engaged with you to a certain degree, but then you're just talking at them. So how can we make this more of a two-way immersive conversation? And that's how Encaptiv was really born. It was born to get the audience involved, get them engaged, get them interacting, and make it more sticky and more memorable, and stop losing them to this. We built the cell phone as we built our application to be web-based so that people could, instead of using it to go on Facebook and LinkedIn and all those things, they could actually be interacting with your presentation and giving real-time live feedback and things like that. And where we evolved into really working with nonprofits and associations for the most part. That's not our whole audience, but it's the majority of our audience, the majority of who we work with. Is that I've always been a very mission-driven person. I sit on the board of the Stanford Partnership with Dan Morris. I am also one of the co-founders of Stanford Innovation Week, which is a nonprofit festival. A lot of these things are for-profit events. We are a nonprofit. I've always volunteered on boards and things like that. And I just love the idea of giving back. Even when I was a kid, the things that made me most happy was when I was helping other people. And so this is really a way to take my passion for communication and interaction and getting people to connect on a deeper level with each other and do it in a way that serves the nonprofit and associations, which tend to a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times be nonprofits themselves. Because when I was looking at what's out there from an audience engagement solution, from an event tech solution, they can get really expensive. And I noticed a lot of the nonprofits were just sticking with Zoom, which isn't super, it's great for meetings like this, but it's not super conducive for events as a whole. But a lot of times nonprofits, you're stuck with, okay, do we spend $50,000 on this beautifully branded platform, or do we save that money and give that back to fulfilling our mission? So really wanted to build something that gives you a beautifully branded platform, that gives you all the bells and whistles you need while not breaking the bank. It's much more affordable, much less expensive, so that you can take that money and give it back to your mission.
Thanks so much for sharing that, Shannon. I think all of us who've worked with volunteers know that it is incredibly rewarding to give back. I think all of us on all of these roundtables share that belief and have experienced it firsthand, and that's why we do what we do. So how do you advise the nonprofits and associations you work with when they come to you with plotting out their next events for this year? What are some of the conversations and insights you can share to kind of help our roundtable family think about Is it time to schedule an in-person event? What's the time frame? What are the factors to consider? Because we know that, every organization has different things to consider as they plot out. And how far should an organization be looking right now? Because things do change pretty often, which I think frustrates all of us to be able to plan.
Yeah, we're in a similar situation right now with both Stanford Innovation Week and the partnership. We're planning our gala to be in person, likely in October, and we're still figuring all that out because there's a lot to take into consideration. Where are we going to have it? What are going to be the COVID restrictions and guidelines? They're lifting across the country now with more and more people becoming vaccinated, but like, what are the right things to do? What should we max it out at? We're having to consider tables. Instead of selling just 10-person tables, we're looking at things like selling it based on family or grouping, right? So if you have a 4-person family, do a 4-top. If you got another 6-person group, 6-top, right? And it makes it a little more logistically difficult, but it all comes back to knowing your audience. And this is just in general, period, when planning any event. And unfortunately, it's something that gets overlooked too often. It's, who are you serving? Who is your audience? Who's going to be attending this event? What do they care about? What's important to them? What are their comfort levels? They are going to be the ones that drive this. You're also going to have to look at what is your organization's comfort levels? What are the liabilities you're putting forth, and what risk are you willing to take with this? Which gets into the whole like legal and ethical side of things. But you also have to look at federal and state guidelines and local guidelines and what's been passed down. So for every organization, it's going to look a little different because we're all spread out, we're all over the place, right? But the key thing is looking at who your audience is, what's important to them, what are they comfortable with? Are they going to want to attend an in-person event? Some people just aren't. We're seeing the industry research saying that it looks like people are going to be more comfortable with coming back to smaller, more localized events, and then having some kind of virtual component so that people that are virtual can come and join in. So that's the hybrid aspect, right? You've got some people in person, you've got some people virtual. We hosted an event back in February where they decided to do a VIP group of their sponsors and their speakers and a couple of major VIPs to be in person, and they limited that to 50 total. And then they had another 120 people that joined virtually via the platform. And that's because people weren't comfortable with travel and all of that stuff yet, or being in a hotel or in a giant ballroom. So there's a lot of considerations. And I say the best thing to do is to poll your audience, right? Come up with some kind of survey or some kind of communication to say, hey, we have our big event coming up in October. What are your preferences? What do you feel comfortable with? And that'll start to tell you what kind of room size you need, whether it should be indoors or outdoors or a blend of the two. With Stanford Innovation Week, we're going to do a hybrid event, and we're blending indoor, outdoor, so that there's those options for people who don't feel comfortable being inside. We can have some outdoor stuff going on. Once you really understand what your audience is comfortable with, then you want to look at your goals and objectives as an organization. What are you trying to accomplish? We have some people say that doing the virtual thing just didn't quite give them what they want to accomplish, so they decided to bump and do it later, which is something where if you're used to doing something every May or every June or every July, you might have to reconsider and change the date so that you can have people feeling more comfortable with being part of your event. So it's A, figuring out your audience and what they're comfortable with, B, figuring out your organizational goals and objectives, aligning all of those things to make the decision of how to move forward with your event.
Thank you so much, Shannon. That is really helpful. I think a lot of us, we felt so much pressure to figure it out that it's hard to take a step back. And yeah, a quick poll to an audience could be really telling. You might have an audience that's by and large fully vaccinated for whatever reason, but for someone like myself with little kids, I still might, be hesitant to go back into the big ballroom. Because you just really don't, there's still so many unknowns. But until you get that feedback, you really don't know. And that was really interesting to hear about the hybrid example you gave. That could be the way of the future, all hybrid options. Although we don't want people to, always have the option to avoid the Long Island traffic. That's the one thing I don't miss right now. But it's great for engagement or just opening up your audience a bit.
Yeah, and the research is showing that the future really is hybrid. Even when we do go back to large conferences and events with hybrid, people have seen a few things happening. One, they can expand their audience. Like with Stanford Innovation Week, we had a smaller attendance number last year, but we had a wider catchment. We normally only pull from the general Connecticut, New York City. We have had Boston, Long Island, some Pennsylvania in the past, but we were seeing people from all over the world join virtually. So we opened our audience. The other thing that virtual is really great at, which is going to be carried over into hybrid, is the analytics, the data, the analytics that is just so hard to measure for an in-person event at a deep granular level. So you can really show ROI, you can really start to understand what's attracting people and what kind of people and what's leading to donations and increased value for your organization and that increased word of mouth and the spreading of your mission. So the future really is hybrid. The industry is going in a direction where they're saying, okay, even when we come back to in-person, there will always be some virtual component offered to it because of those things.
It's interesting. It really is a new world of event planning for folks who never had a virtual component for events in the past, or have only done virtual, which is very different as well than building out a hybrid model. So let's talk about another area of your expertise. Oh, and by the way, if you have questions for Shannon, feel free to drop them in the chat box as we go along, and we'll get to them as we're chatting or at the end, however it fits. But we want to answer as many questions as possible. What is the difference between engagement and interaction? Talk to us about that, because we know both are important, but how can we kind of be focusing on those two important aspects of events in general and the programming that we do?
Yeah, and the way I like to explain it is that interaction is a component of engagement. The big difference is, and people use them interchangeably all the time, the big difference is interaction ends when the session or the event ends. Engagement continues beyond your event. So it's people sharing it out on their social medias, talking about it, buzzing about it, continuing to donate, visiting your website, all of those kind of things. Engagement implies that there's this deeper level of emotional connection, that they want to be there, right? And so an interaction may be someone comes on, we'll talk about virtual for a second. Someone comes on your virtual event or your Zoom meeting or whatever it may be, your roundtable, and they decide, okay, I really want to attend this, and they put it on, but then they put it in the background and they're over here working on emails or something. That's not engagement. That's listening, that's occasionally popping back to interact or ask a question, right? Engagement is like, I am fully immersed in this. I'm loving this conversation. I want to be part of this. I want to, there's just a deeper level there of connection with it. And then, at the end of the day, when you think about it, engagement is, it's a little more intangible, but it's still measurable. It's at the end of the day, what are your goals and outcomes that you have set forth for your event? Is it increasing your word of mouth, increasing your donations, all of these things, referrals, like shares, all of that stuff, and meetings and follow-ups? If so, when people take those next steps to go beyond what we call the first date, right? Not just showing up for the event and then never talking again, it's they continue to engage with you beyond that in multiple different ways, and they help you fulfill your goals and objectives and mission.
That's really helpful. So when it comes to these three different event types, in-person, hybrid, virtual, can you share with us some tips and tricks for growing both engagement and interaction? What have you seen work well, or how have you seen nonprofits succeed in these three different kind of types of events?
Yeah, so one of the biggest keys is to keep it interesting and to mix it up. A lot of times, one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen, whether it's an in-person conference, a virtual conference, or a hybrid conference, is just content. And it's information overload just thrown at you. And people's attention spans for actually absorbing content is about 20 minutes. Once you hit that 20-minute threshold, they kind of drop off a little bit, right? So you need to be very clear and very concise, make your sessions shorter and more impactful. And then don't just have an event strung together with information session, information session, information session, information session, you have to break that up. So some of the most successful events that I've seen take place are ones that maybe have a couple of shorter information sessions, maybe have 3 to 5 to choose from. You also don't want to give them overload on how many choices. 3 to 4 kind of seems to be a sweet spot there. But you don't want to give too many choices, but you want to give enough so that people can see that, oh, this interests me. Because if it doesn't interest them, especially in virtual, they don't have really an expo hall to go walk around in. There are expo halls virtually, and we have them in Encaptiv as well, but it doesn't work quite the same in virtual. And that's one of those nuts we're still working to crack, right? As technologists, like, how do we really make that exhibitor hall like super special? We've done some cool things, but there's always room for improvement. But a lot of times in virtual, if someone sees a session, they're like, I'm not interested in that. They're signing off, they're going away. And then maybe if they wanted to attend the next one, they got caught up in emails or a phone call or meeting, and now they've missed 3 hours of your event, and then they sign back on at the end of the day. So it's making sure that there's diverse choices, making sure that those choices that are available are audience centric. So that comes back to polling your audience, knowing your audience, what are they interested in, and making sure you're aligning the content you're providing there. And then what has also made that really successful is not just those short content sessions, but breaking them up. One event I saw, they did content sessions that were about 25 to 30 minutes, followed by another 5-minute break, another block of 20-minute to 30-minute content sessions, followed by discussions, roundtable discussions. They had all these different breakout groups, and these discussions weren't just open networking, they were purpose-driven rooms. So it was like, in this room, we're going to talk about X, in this room, we're going to talk about Y, in this room, we're going to talk about Z. If you don't want to do that, here's a fun activity you can go participate in. And then the next block in the schedule is just blocked out with a fun, engaging activity that may have nothing to do specifically with your content, but may help to overall drive your mission. So I heard a lot of people in arts, so maybe doing like a virtual paint event where you send those supplies to their home. If you're in person, it becomes a lot easier to do things like that, right? But when you inject fun and activities into it and give your audience an opportunity to talk and be part of the conversation instead of just sitting back and listening for hours on end, they become much more engaged, and it becomes much more interactive. They become refreshed after the end of like, break up discussion, let's go do something fun. Now I'm ready to go back and sit and learn again, right? I've given my brain a break. So that's been some of the things that I've seen be really successful. And I've seen all kinds of creative activities. And we actually have a partner we work with. I'm going to plug them right here, Yaymaker. They have nearly 100 activities that they do in person, hybrid and virtual, everything from escape rooms that they can do virtually to talks with like Montel Jordan, this is how we do it, to quiz game shows to get to know the other people on there. And it's not like trivia where you have to know the answer. It's like, what is your sister's first dog's name kind of thing, and revealing interesting things about yourself. So think outside the box, get fun with it. That's what I've seen work best, because when attendees feel refreshed and energized, they're more likely to stay engaged and walk away going, wow, that was an experience, not just an event, that was an experience. And that's going to create the buzz and the talk afterwards and the sharing and everything.
Wow, that was a lot of really good takeaways. The 20 minutes of content, hopefully that stuck out to folks who've ever sat through an event. And even though you might be very interested, at a certain point you go, I just can't absorb anymore. I need to kind of just take it down a notch or do something fun. I think we do tend to forget that these events need to be fun, even if it's a really serious ask, a mission that tugs at the heartstrings. There's still a way to inject fun. So thanks for sharing all of that.
Christine,
Yeah, the big thing, oh, go ahead, Tommy.
I'm just going to say, just take a look at the chat. There's some cool stuff going on there. Maybe you want to address that, but please, Shannon, continue. I didn't want to get in the way.
Oh, no, you're right, Tommy. I did want to get to Paul's question, Shannon. This is related to what you have been talking about. Paul asked, wondering if there is a correlation between wider catchment area and engagement. And then Paul also noted that he's had success with virtual paint events. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
Paul, did you want to add anything to that? I don't know, it's weird. I can't see Paul's box here on my screen.
No,
there he is. Oh, hey, Paul.
But no, I didn't have anything else to add. I just, I'm just listening to the conversation, and the thing that really stuck out to me is, so if you're able to widen your catchment area, is there some sort of correlation between that? And if less people attend in person, does that in some way decrease the amount of investment that someone has? It's so easy, in any kind of virtual experience that to almost check out at sometimes, or pick up your phone and text, or multitask. So I'm just kind of wondering about that.
Yeah. So there's a number of pieces there. One is the expanded catchment area. The other is the in-person versus the virtual engagement. So I'm going to tackle the first one first, or the second one first, and come back around to the first one. So really, when we're talking about the virtual audience versus the in-person audience, as a communication nerd at heart, I will say the research shows that you cannot replace the in-person interaction. 97%, or as high as 97% of communication is nonverbal. The average is about 93%, with about 80% being like all true nonverbals. A portion of that is more your vocalics, your tone, your pitch, your rate, your speed, all of that kind of stuff, what you put behind your words, whether you get really excited and super active, if you're like the Tommy D's of the world, you can just own the screen, it doesn't matter what, versus if you're like, what was his name's escaping me, the teacher, Bueller. No one's going to sit around and listen to that in person or virtual, but there is a lot of intangible energy, a lot of body language that gets lost when you're only looking at someone as a floating head, right? So you're never going to really replace that, but there's a lot of great tools out there for driving a great immersive virtual experience. And these tools are evolving rapidly and improving constantly. And as technology improves, we're going to be even better at this. I mean, I'm already thinking about, how do I beam people into other people's living rooms so you can see their full body, right? That's years away, but yes, Ben Stein. Thanks, Tommy D. And then from the catchment area, it's really going to depend. I would say if your nonprofit is hyper localized and it's not super relevant to people outside of your catchment area, you're probably going to have a little bit of a harder time driving engagement. But that's not always the case. If people really believe in your mission and what you're doing, and you can really, teach people about that and show them how wonderful you are, donations can come in from all over the world. I was talking to someone the other day who told me their nonprofit raised $250,000 from one virtual event. So it is doable. There are opportunities there. A lot of it comes down to your event strategy and your event design, and then how you communicate and execute that.
Thanks, Paul, for the good question.
Paul?
Nope, that was perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
So Shannon, what do you see in terms of missteps or missed opportunities? How have you seen organizations kind of identify, oh geez, if we had only done X, Y, or Z at our last event, we could have had this significantly greater return, or can't believe we missed that opportunity. What are some ways, organizations have kind of adapted or pivoted to their next event model, or just tweaked, it made little tweaks that make all the difference? I really appreciate everything you're saying about communications. I mean, I think I too have a degree in communications, and I was asked the same questions, and it really all does come down to that, because we're all people. Ultimately, we're people, and we're asking other people to come to our events. And if your message isn't getting through, that will make all the difference. And how you are able to connect, Tommy, to your audience. So,
yeah, authenticity is a big part of it. One of the big mistakes that we've seen, and I won't even necessarily call it a mistake, but more of an, oh, we should have done this different, like a lesson learned, right? More so than a mistake, is going for all, especially in virtual, going for like fancy bells and whistles and production quality and all of that. And none of that really matters if you don't put the time and energy into the strategy, into the execution. If you leave out the things like I mentioned, if it becomes content, or me, my organization focused, it needs to be something I use a lot is WIFM, WIFM. What's in it for me? Right. And by me, I mean your attendees, your audience, your donors, your sponsors, people like that. So it's important to think about them. That's a big misstep, is they look back and they go, oh, we should have built in more fun activities. We should have found ways to keep them engaged online. At the end of the day, we're humans, and we want to connect with other humans who are being real and who are being honest and who aren't trying to put on airs and present a very specific, like perfectly polished, presentation, I'll call it, forward to the world. People connect with people, they connect with imperfection, they connect with stories. Storytelling is so important. And I will say the nonprofit sector tends to be better at this than the business sector. Unless you're in the business sector and have millions of dollars to pay a fancy advertising agency, or just have this rock star on your team that's great at storytelling. But yeah, it's really about being true and honest and transparent, and showing that I'm human too, and we're here to connect with each other, and we're not striving for perfection here. We're striving for, making deeper human connections, getting to know one another, and all trying to bring this mission forward at the end of the day.
Absolutely. So in your work, can you share some examples with us about some events that you've worked on, and the outcomes? I think that's really at the heart of this, right? We said let's identify our goals and objectives, and then how are we evaluating ourselves at the close of these events? So share some success stories with us, to your point about telling stories. I think this is what we'll be most likely to remember. I know you've worked with a lot of organizations. You mentioned that not only nonprofits that you work with, but associations, whether nonprofits or not. Yeah, share some with us that you think we could learn from as we consider what types of events we want to have and the kinds of results that we want to see for our organization.
Yeah, so I think some interesting ones that I've seen is, there was one that, like I said, they did, like, if I could say they did everything right, I would say they did everything right, just from the strategy, the planning, the format, how they presented it. I tend to stay on a lot of these events and just track them and see how they're going. And what I saw as a huge success story for them was that they didn't have audience drop off. Every session was just full. The numbers were the same throughout the day. They had the people in the room cheering. They had the people virtually. And what they did is they put their speakers on the stage, and then they had the wall of all the people joined virtually, just TV after TV after TV. And so the speakers could look out and not only see the people sitting there, but the people on the wall. So it was really engaging for the virtual participants, because the speakers could say, oh, I see you, Christine, over there. You've got your hand raised, and type in your question. And then they take the question and they'd interact with them. And a lot of times, unfortunately, I don't get to hear at the end of the day what the ROI was or the donations were, because that becomes like an ongoing type of thing. They continue to collect donations and stuff like that afterward. I wish I had a little bit more of that data. We're still working on collecting some of that from our customers, but so this particular organization did see a bump in sales for their program. They signed up a lot of people at the end, and I don't know the exact conversion, but just from sitting on there, I saw about 50% of the people raise their hands and saying, I'm signing up today. And then from the perspective of like the YMCA, I'd have to go back to them. I didn't get their final donation numbers, but they were working towards meeting their donation goals. And then with the Boys and Girls Club, we did something really interesting. Instead of just having one event plugged up there that's branded with Boys and Girls Club, what they did is they sold branded hubs to their different partners. So they were able to, even before the event ever started, sell several $20,000 sponsorships. They sold 5 of these and offered them and said, hey, if you do this level of sponsorship, we're going to give you a custom branded portal to this platform that will be specific to your organization and specific to with your branding and all of that. And then only your employees and stuff will be able to log into this. It won't be a public event. And one of the people they sold that to was KPMG. And KPMG, whereas normally it's just Stanford's office that attends this because it's the Boys and Girls Club of Stanford, they came back to us and said, hey, how many people can you support on this platform? KPMG wants to push this out worldwide. And so KPMG announced what would normally have only been available to their Stanford employees to KPMG worldwide. So that's one of the really great things that virtual can bring, and one of the success stories we've seen with that.
That's really inspiring to hear. I like the visual of seeing the TVs. It kind of reminds me of, how we're watching all of our talk shows now at this point. Most just have the TVs, and it's fun to see the reactions from people. And it makes it much more engaging, just seeing, how folks are reacting. Well, even if they're just moving around, you just know that they're there. And it's not like this, you feel like you're in this like tunnel where, you're kind of by yourself. You feel much more connected. So what about organizations with limited capacity? I try to always ask this question because we do have a lot of organizations that are part of our roundtable family that may have just one staff person and mainly rely on volunteers. What advice do you have for organizations that really need to, keep the budget small and look to volunteers? What are some steps that they could take to really get the most engagement and interaction with their events going forward?
Yeah, you can do a lot on a dime. So I have seen several organizations do things, and again, I'm talking about the virtual world right now, but this can also be done in person. You have to think through the strategies for it. But for example, in virtual organizations with big budgets, I've seen them do things like, we're going to have a wine tasting night. And if you buy your ticket, you get, depending on your ticket level, if you buy the upper level ticket, which is another way to bring some additional revenue in, we're actually going to send mini wines of all these to your house with a basket and a nice tasting and a cheese and everything to go with it. Whereas for organizations that didn't have the budget to send that out or didn't want to sell that higher tier of ticket, they would do something like publish the list of wines that we're going to taste and give them a list of places where you can purchase these things, so that way the attendees can still feel like they're participating in this and be part of it, and they'll know what's coming up, but it saves a lot of money to do it that way. And then of course, always relying on your volunteers. Volunteers have been the lifeblood for us at Stanford Innovation Week. It's how we've been able to run a lot of things, from check-in to we have something called Metapop, which is a big festival where we have musicians and all kinds of stuff. Like, volunteers have been really critical in running that. So definitely use your volunteer network. And then also, don't break the bank on things that you don't necessarily need to break the bank on. It's a matter of a trade-off, right? It comes back to WIFM again, right? What's in it for me? Think about your audience, what's important to them, what do they want in an experience? That's where you can choose to spend your dollars, and then scale back on the other things. You don't necessarily need to have the biggest, fanciest technology. I've actually told people, I've said, you know what? I don't think you should use our product. I think you should save the money and you should put that elsewhere, because based on what you're explaining to me from your event experience and how you're planning to host it and all of that, you don't need a big fancy platform. You need something a little simpler, like a Zoom or something like that, and you can save the money there and put it elsewhere. So really think through those things and what's most important for your organization, for your attendees, for your event, what's the purpose and objective here, and then choose how to spend wisely in your strategy and your budgeting.
Thanks, Shannon. This is really helpful. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. I just have one last question for Shannon. So we're doing really well on time today. And I know that every organization has maybe had some successful events or had some events where they wish they could have really maximized their return and aren't sure why. So please, feel free to share and ask Shannon while she's with us today, because she has so much expertise in this area. But Shannon, if you had to give our group, the three things you'd like the Roundtable family to take away from event strategy, what would those be? Because I think this can be kind of overwhelming. There's a lot of transitions happening in many organizations. It's not just, this isn't just the focus of a role, right? This is someone who's also wearing 3 other hats, and it's hard to kind of take a breath and think of it from a strategic standpoint, which ultimately, provides the best outcome. When we do strategic planning, we certainly try to make this a part of the overall strategy that organizations take into account. But we don't always have that time or that luxury to do so. So what would you like folks to take away from this so that they can kind of go back to their desks or their kitchen tables today and make their next event better?
Yeah. Know your audience, know your audience, know your audience. I mean, that's literally the core of everything in communication, and events are another way of communicating. So I would say that is a big one: who they are, what they care about, why will they attend your event, why do they care about your cause, why will they donate to your cause, all those kind of things. That's important. The second thing is know your goals and objectives, which is really, you got to get clear on that. I've seen so many people say, well, I've said, why are you having this event? I don't know, we do this every year to raise money. Okay, but what's the greater purpose here? Why are you really doing this? Dig deep. And that can be hard sometimes. And then a purpose is different from an objective. Your purpose is your why, right? Your objective is your call to action. What do you want people to do after the event? And then you have to, we were talking about horses earlier, you've got to lead your horse to water, right? You can't just leave it open with a donation link on the side and expect people are going to know to go donate. Wrap it up, wrap up each session, wrap up your event, whatever it is, with here is our call to action. This is what we need your help with. Go spread the word, tell people about our mission, donate to the cause, volunteer, all of those things. So be very clear on those things and make sure to align your goals and objectives with your audience. That's a big takeaway. And then, like you talked about with strapped resources and maybe not having events experts, I've worked with both sides of the coin in Encaptiv, of people that have an events team that actually help to execute these things, and people that don't, and they're trying to wear 20 hats and figure that out. It's no one to ask for help or to tap volunteers. A lot of volunteers are more than happy to get involved. Tap volunteers that have events industry expertise and create a working group around your event to have them get involved and really help to push the needle forward for you. We have a number of volunteers on the Stanford Innovation Week, as well as the Stanford Partnership Boards, that all they do are events all day. That is their job, that is their lifeblood, and they give their time to help plan and execute these things.
I was just counseling one of our clients about forming a volunteer team for their next event, getting volunteers buy-in from the beginning, creating a team leader. And it really just creates community, and community means you're more accountable and you're going to see that event through because you're working on it from the beginning. It can be really fun too, because then you're working together and going through this. I really like what you said about purpose-driven rooms. I thought, that really resonated with me. I think we've all ended up in a breakout room where it feels a little bit like, what's going on in here? What is guiding this conversation? And so I think if you kind of keep it in your head, it should be a purpose-driven room, then, you won't forget to make sure that your attendees know why they're there. I didn't want to forget, Mindy had asked a nice question in the chat earlier about event research. And so I don't know if you plan to share that with, I think it's a toolbox you mentioned that you'll be sharing after with our group. But is there any event, and Mindy, did you want to add anything onto your question? I still see you there.
Not necessarily, but I know, Shannon, you mentioned some research that you had referenced about events being more local, the hybrid aspect, and events being more local with an online component. And I was just interested in more of the research, if you have that available.
Yeah, actually, I've been following a few different organizations that throughout COVID have been, their events industry organizations like PCMA, Convene, and things like that. I have a lot of the reports that I can actually send to Christine and Tommy and have them share them with you afterward. And that way you can look through some of that research. There's actually some new research that's about to drop. I participated in a couple of the more recent research studies, and As soon as those drop, I'll make sure to send those to Tommy and Christine as well. I don't know the dates on them, but I can send some of the research I already have and the anecdotal information as well. And that way they can share it out with all of you. I also created something called the event guide and workbook, which it helps you determine who your audience is, what's important to them, what your goals and objectives are, helps you think through aligning those, and then takes that information and helps to determine if there's going to be a hybrid event or a virtual component to be able to find the right technology to align with all of those things as well. So I'll share that out also.
Great, thanks, Shannon. That will be helpful. Tommy, I see you're coming up. Do you have a question before I keep yapping with my next one I just thought of?
No, you were watching me. I see it. As soon as I came off of mute, you knew I was ready to say something. Listen, we all know that I have to stay on mute in order to be quiet over here. So my question again, we bring on these great thought leaders in different subject matters, but and it's never really a commercial about what their product and or service is. But I'd like you to, Shannon, if you could, just if somebody wanted to learn more about Encaptiv, or what I want them to learn more about Encaptiv. So what does Encaptiv look like experience wise for an organization or association, if you could?
Yeah, we've tried to make it really simple and self-serve. So again, that you're saving money. It's a fully white labeled platform. You have the ability to go in and set your colors and your branding, your logos, your banners, add sponsor ads, do all of that stuff. And you can fully administer it yourself, and you don't need a degree in rocket science to do it. And so the experience is meant to be one that's clean and simple and easy to use, so that when you're setting your event up, you can do so quickly. Just to give you an idea, we had an event come to us that was like, oh, our event's next week, and we plan to have anywhere from 3 to 4 breakout rooms running concurrently. We're just going to do it all on Zoom. And we're going to just send out a bunch of Zoom links to the rooms, and people got to figure out where to go based on the schedule. It's not a great experience. So a week before their event, we took their entire agenda and all their branding and everything, and a day and a half had a 3-day event set up, fully branded. And then they didn't want to change the production because all the speakers had planned on doing this via Zoom. And so what they did is they sent the Zoom links in, and we plugged those into the room so that it's still all is in Encaptiv. But when people click the join session button, it just opens Zoom up in a new window. They closed it, they're right back in navigating through it. But that said, we have had some groups that we've worked with that have had limited people resources, but have said we want to put a little bit money towards this, to have your team, because our customer success folks are ex-event. They're not they're still in the events industry, but a lot of ex-Gartner folks that worked on events worldwide, anywhere from like a few hundred to tens of thousands of people. And so we'll align you with a customer success person if you say, I need help with strategy, I need help with planning and implementation, I don't really know where to start. And we can help to put you with someone that can lead you down that road. But the bottom line is we've tried to make the technology very accessible, very easy to use, for both you and your attendees.
So however, even if it is a sort of, as you say, white labeled or clean slate situation. So if you have somebody in-house that can do this stuff for you, meaning you as an organization have somebody in-house on your team that can do it, great. Or if not, you get not just technology, but you get Shannon's people at Encaptiv as well. So all right, more to come on those types of things. This is never a commercial, but it is also, I know this is a valuable resource to you also. That's why I make sure Shannon underscores that. I'm going to unpin Shannon and Christine so we can see the full room again. So we have 6 minutes to go, because I said 9:55. I did promise that at the beginning of this calendar year. So I'm going to do my little unpin right now. And
Oh,
then
I hate being pinned, Tommy.
I'm trying to unpin everybody. Let me just go to gallery. I should see everybody now. I think
Nothing worse than the spotlight. Pinning, I guess, is best,
I know.
better than the spotlight.
Christine, I totally hear you. I hate the spotlight myself. I mean, it does me.
Yeah, right.
Hate being the center.
I'm one of those weirdos like Tommy D that loves being in front of a room and talking.
We're gonna be competing for like who gets the most attention, you and me, Shannon Daniels. All right, so let's open it up to any. I did promise that 9:55 these meetings will end each and every month, and it will be the fourth Thursday of each month. Melissa Greenberger will be our speaker in July, so pro bono partnership, and then we're working out the details in June or for June. Yes, Mindy, absolutely. So let's open it up. Any quick questions, comments? Yes, Christine.
Hi, Shannon, thank you, by the way, for all this great information. I have a lot of takeaways that I took away from what you said, but the one really thing that stood out for me personally is I have a great audience when I have my golf outing, and I never leave anybody with that ask. I don't put a goal together. So I'm putting my golf outing together right now for October. So that's going to be a major part of my ending speech. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Good, glad to hear it.
Thanks.
Great practical takeaways. Anything else like that? Because that's, this is a great fun and we learn a lot, but what do you do with it, right? What's the action? So that's really great. Thanks, Christine. Anybody else have any questions? Okay.
I think we have a group that might be ready for Memorial Day weekend.
Well, you guys did a bang up job having that conversation is also part of it. So I will just conclude. I'll stop the recording here in a second. This has been the Nonprofit Executive Leadership Roundtables. This is the May 2021 edition. This will be posted so you guys can have access and share with your teams. Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Shannon Daniels. I appreciate everybody being here. I appreciate your investment. I appreciate all the work you guys all do in the nonprofit.
Hey, Tommy, I have a question.
And Frank Orzo, before I close, Frank Orzo.
Tommy, if someone like yourself, the connector, always running around to all these meetings and Zoom meetings, how did you get that tan?
It's a lot of, Frank, one of the major benefits of having 4 young children is there's a lot of sports on the weekend, and we didn't get these sports last year. And the other part about it is I've been helping out around here, like with afternoon pickup. And I used to have this is hysterical. And I'm going to tell this story and we're recording it, but my kids get out of school like 2:40. And I used to try and have like a 3 o'clock or a 3:15 or a 3:30 phone call booked. And then I'd get in these arguments about we have to go. From now on, what I do is I show up with a beach chair at the school and one of these, and brand new one, a full one. And then I just set up my beach chair. And if I'm there till 4 or 4:30 when them running around, I don't care. So I just sit there and relax. So I've carved out that time. And that's what
relax. Relax. Did you say relax?
I do it. Yeah, it may shock a lot of people that time.
But for everybody on the call, in case you don't know, Tommy has another moniker. He's called Tommy Tornado.
Only by you, Frank. Only you're allowed to call me Tommy Tornado. Everybody else.
We need the story behind that one.
It's just he's seen me around, Shannon. Before this flat 2-dimensional situation, I used to be in the real world and see people, and I would literally like drag Frank Orzo from one side of the room to the other side. Frank, you need to meet Shannon Daniels, like now, like just come with me. And then I like take him and like pull it, and I guess that's the tornado, sort of like the Tasmanian devil, which is the same.
You did that to me at my first TNG meeting.
Did I? See?
Wait, come over
Yeah,
here.
come
over here. You gotta meet this person.
And
did you talk to that person yet?
So you've experienced the tornado apparently, and some others have as well. I want to keep time.
Wait, now I need to share. in the last 60 seconds that Tommy texted me this morning. Please pick me up a large iced coffee with just half and half. And I thought, is he joking because we're not in person anymore and he misses our, picking up the breakfast stuff? And then I thought, no, that's really not that funny. And he's usually somewhat funny when he's making a joke. And then I remembered that his wife is also named Christine. And I think, so a half an hour later, I wrote him,
showed up.
Wrong Christine.
Yeah, and the funny part about it is,
I just thought that was so funny.
It's Christine DiMisa and it's Christine Deska. So they're both right next to each other in the phone. So, but I got the coffee one way.
I hope you got your coffee.
I did. It's
hope
here.
you got your coffee.
Because she and I had discussed it prior to me sending that text anyhow. So, well, now all my business is recorded. Well, listen, thank you all for being here. I appreciate this. We'll see you next month here, June. Help me out, Christine, Deska. June
Or Thursday.
24th. Stopping the
Or
recording
Thursday.
now. Thanks, everybody.